Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palma.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 11, overall 451 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, their great selection of all-electric vehicles, as well as their Cadillac products as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is proud to announce my second sponsor, Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Welly on today. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, November 8th, 2024, and I'm excited to have my guest on today. Her name is, her first appearance ever on my show. Her name is Gloria Palma, or known as Goddess Gloria. She's the author of her own book called The Life Shift Session, and she's also a master spiritual, I can say it, energy healer, and a clairvoyant medium, and a stand-up comedian. So we're going to bring on our guest today, Gloria Palma. Good afternoon. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you so much. And if you don't mind me doing this, I wanted to wish you a very happy birthday and really appreciate you coming on your special day today.
Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying today.
I got to put you on the spot. I know with my birthdays, I love cake. Are you a cake person or not?
I am not a cake person.
Okay. Is there a specific birthday dinner that you kind of like to have for your day, special day?
Yes, tonight after this, we're going to go over to the Chart House and have some calamari and salad with bacon and blue cheese.
Oh, that's okay too. How's the weather in Los Angeles right now? And do you have any upcoming performances?
The weather is beautiful. It usually is here. I'm very lucky. I live in a little pocket of the South Bay, and it's usually beautiful all year long. And I do have a show coming up on Saturday, November 16th, all brand new jokes. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that is so great. And I was going to say, well, we'll get into some questions now, Gloria. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. I was born and raised in Los Angeles in the 1960s, and have never left to live anywhere else other than California. I love being here. I spent 25 years as a stockbroker, and in 2010, I think 2011, I began the shift in my transition towards a healer, and through that transition appeared a whole path in comedy. And so now that's what I do. I do stand-up comedy, and I'm also a healer.
Wanted to ask you this too, since you're on the West Coast. I'm not sure if you've gone on the East Coast, but I've had some other comedians on from Canada and from around the States. They say when they go to other cities or other states, the audiences are different. Have you done any performing on the East Coast, or has it just been on the West Coast so far for stand-up comedy?
I've done only performing on the West Coast, and it is true what they say about different audiences. The audience are different. Even here in California, Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, I can kill an audience. But there are those rare places where I think maybe it's a conservative audience and they're not that open to someone called a goddess. And so it happens where not every comic gets every audience all the time.
Had to ask you this. How did you get your nickname Goddess Gloria?
Well, it started back in 2007. I became a single mother, and it was very difficult to make friends when you're a single mom with little kids. And I decided to develop an organization called Goddess Force, where all of the women could come in and accept their inner goddess, and that has a different meaning for everyone. For myself, the reason I call myself Goddess Gloria is I channel God's energy in female form, goddess. And so that is my proclamation to the universe.
How important is it to have your own brand being a stand-up comedian?
I think it's important as a stand up comedian to keep our jokes and our material very personal. And that's what differentiates one comic from another. When you make it real personal, no one can take your jokes. And so my jokes, I think, are 90% true.
And also, I guess I'm assuming a lot of it is on your life experiences as well.
Right. In the beginning, I made a lot of jokes about my children because my children were young, and um, it was a lot of funny times bringing them up. Today, I'm writing mostly jokes about my book because there's so many messages that I want to deliver and contribute while I'm still alive. And the stage, I think, is one of the best place to deliver messages. And so my newest material, I'm so excited. I think it's my funniest work I've ever done. It's all about the Holy Spirit and recognizing the evil side inside of your brain and taking control of yourself. And that's the one thing I love about comedy is that when someone hands you a microphone, they can't really stop you from saying whatever you want. We have a lot of freedom on that stage.
I wanted to say this to you as well, Gloria. I've had a lot of musicians and comedians on my show, and they're different professions, but a lot of them find that music and comedy is like a therapy to them. What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think the biggest joy that I have is watching an audience burst into laughter. Is just it's very fulfilling. And sometimes I'll review my videos or audio recordings, and the laughter from the audience brings me so much joy. It's just overwhelming joy. Um, I don't know if I answered your question correctly.
No, that's okay too. Actually, I wanted to I wanted to start off about your spiritual energy as a healer, and also your book too. I wanted to ask you this: how did you come about writing your book, Life Shift Session?
All right. Well, I think I mentioned a little bit that I transitioned from being a stockbroker to a healer. And it was a very uncomfortable transition for a very long time, for many years. In the beginning, when I left the stockbroker world, I left it at the height of that career. And a lot of people had thought I had lost my mind. They made fun of me. They were talking rumors about me, and so that part was eye-opening. I learned where I stood in other people's lives. But what I did is I had come from a spiritual background and kind of suppressed it for most of my adult life. And I'd come to a point where I was really miserable. I'd gotten divorced and I was really unclear of how to move forward in my life. I knew that I wanted to spend more time with my children, and being a stockbroker wasn't going to really allow that. And so I got on my knees and I prayed, begged, surrendered to my ancestors, to all of the masters. I begged, like, please show me what to do, because I was totally lost. And in that meditation, um, Bobby Oliver's face showed up in my meditation. She's a comedy coach. And as soon as I saw her face, I thought, oh, hell no. Because I was still stockbroker and I didn't ever see myself doing any comedy. And I was really disappointed with that meditation because I didn't get the answers that I was looking for. But 5 minutes after that meditation, I got a text from Bobby Oliver, and she texted me, I have one more opening for class tomorrow. Do you want the spot? And it was for a Sunday. And I just had to go because there was too many synchronicities. It was too much coincidence. And I went to my first class, was really disappointed, had no intention of ever going to the class or going through with it. But one of the last things she said in the first session of her class was, you may never want to do comedy, but the one thing you will get out of this 8-week class is you will become really clear on who you are. And so I said, take my money. I need to become clear. And in that class, I became really clear that I was done being a stockbroker, and there was a goddess Gloria inside of me, and I didn't know what that meant, but it came out of me. And through that work in comedy, and I had also started my work as a healer, I started developing a technique, so to speak, or a protocol of steps to take to open up your third eye. And I put it in a book because I was actually helping a client who was moving away from Los Angeles and wasn't going to be able to see me one-on-one in one-on-one sessions anymore. And so I thought, I better put this in a book, not just for that client, but just in case I die, I don't want all these secrets to die with me. And so I put the book out there and all of my secrets on how to open your third eye and how to communicate with spirit world.
How much of an impact did Bobby Oliver have on your comedy career? And what was the process like in writing and having this book published?
Bobby Oliver has had a huge impact on every aspect of my life. I think that I've become really clear on who I am. The first class I took with her was in 2011, and since then I've taken many classes on and off due to my mother dying and a business partner dying and my children moving in and out of my home. I took a lot of time off, but now I'm back 100%. I began to write my book just after my mother died
I'm
in
sorry.
2000. Thank you. In 2013, and I published the first edition of the book in 2014, and I just republished it in 2022. I began teaching from the book in 2014, and in that process of teaching, I developed a few more techniques and gifts that I put in the new edition of the book. Um, and so now I feel it's complete. And not only the first time when I wrote it, it took me, I would say, about 3 months. I was a single mom, full-time kids, trying to make a living, and I wrote the book. And then the second time around, I think it took me a year. Um, because there was a lot of editing and changing, and I took one of the chapters, I split it in half, and I added a whole nother section. And I wanted to, I was a perfectionist because I wanted to not leave out any tools of how to help people. The first edition of my book, I had a lot of men reach out to me, and I had to explain the process to them in a different way. And so over a time period, I learned that to communicate with men, It's a little different than communicating with women. And so I think that's one of the gifts that I received from publishing the book.
How satisfying was it seeing it being published? And for my audience, or our audience watching this live streamed or on audio platforms of WQEE 99.1 FM, where's the best place somebody can purchase your book online?
Oh, all right. It's available on Amazon.com. I also have copies myself. I teach workshops, and so when I teach the live shift session workshop, I'll have like 20 or 30 books, and they'll be all sold out. But I do have some on hand. It's also available on Amazon.com, and I'll make sure and get you that link.
Thank you so much, because I would like to read your book. And how did you come up with the title and the cover for your book?
Thank you so much. The cover, I'm so proud of this cover. It was taken
Looks
at
so
a
peaceful.
local, thank you. And that's actually me. And
Awesome.
that was, yeah, it's at a local beach here near where I live. And the reason I call it live shift session is what I do in a one-on-one in-person 90-minute live shift session. I remove you from the illusion that you are your body, that you are this human experience, and I open up your third mind. I shift you out of this perception and I shift you into the perception where you can see all of the realms, where you can see yourself from a higher perspective and communicate with spirit world so that you can be guided in high speed towards your goals and dreams.
For those that are watching, can you just explain to us about a spiritual energy healer and a clairvoyant medium?
Absolutely. A spiritual energy healer. What we do as energy healers is we channel our energy to others to heal them. Um, and sometimes a lot of these healers don't even know they're healers, but naturally people gravitate towards them because their energy is so peaceful and so loving and giving and caring. So you might have some of those in your family that don't even know they're healers, but you go to them for healing. And so that's energy healer. A clairvoyant, and there's different types of clairvoyant. There's audio, visual, sensory clairvoyant. A clairvoyant is someone that communicates with spirit world, which we all have the ability to do. And I teach in my book and in my workshops is how to tap into that resource within us to so that we can be totally spiritually self-sufficient so we don't have to depend on others for our messages or for guidance or so that we won't be misled by others. We were all born with the ability to communicate with God directly ourselves. We do it from the moment we are in body, we communicate with God. And if you look at little children, as soon as they start communicating, you can't look at a little child and tell me they're not communicating with God. They're all channels of God. And so my book shifts you back to that innocence, to that place of clarity where it was really simple to be directly communicated and directly connected and hear the messages from spirit world.
How important is having a mindset? Obviously, a strong mindset and also a strong support system in your life.
It's the most important, and it's not possible to have a strong mindset all the time. I don't. Even though I teach the workshops and I wrote the book, um, I'm not 100% positive all the time. I do have my down days. When I do have those days, whether it's depression or over a dead relative or a dead sibling or a friend, whether it's sadness or loneliness or envy or anger, whatever it is that I'm feeling, I allow myself to feel it. I don't deny it. I don't suppress it. I allow myself to feel it as much as I feel a great experience, because all human experiences are profound, right? That's how we know we're living, when we're in pain. It's like we're alive. And so there have been times when I feel so alive because the pain is so enormous. But the bright side of going through so much pain is that there's always the opposite side of whatever we're feeling. And I've been through enormous pain in my life. I still carry a lot of pain. I have siblings that died recently, and when I visit those pools of pain, I don't run from it. I allow it, because this is living, this is life, right? And it keeps me humble for when we get those times when we want to celebrate and shout out to the world how fantastic it is. There's always those parts of us that are hurting, that are sad, that are missing our closest ones. And so it's a
Absolutely.
balance.
Absolutely. I don't usually share this too often, but 39 years ago, I lost my dad at the age of 13, and it was devastating being a teenager. And it was 2 days from Christmas. And for a couple years, I blamed myself for his death, and I ended up going to therapy and stuff. And you know what? Even to this day, it's still hard 39 years later.
It never gets easier. Not one day. My father passed away 24 years ago, and my mother passed away 11 years ago, and it still feels like yesterday.
Absolutely. And it does really help to talk to people as well. And I wanted to ask you this too, Gloria, before we get into your comedy career. When did you take an interest in the spiritual energy as a healer and clairvoyant medium? And what do you enjoy the most about doing this?
Well, I was kind of thrown into it as a little girl. My mother did exorcisms. That was her specialty in Los Angeles in the 1970s. But it wasn't public. It wasn't like something we talked about. It was something that we kept very quiet. My brother passed away when I was 5.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. By the time I was 12 years old, my mother told me to stop talking to him, because if I didn't, I was going to get locked up in a nut house. Because I could see him the same way I see you. Him and Jesus, those were my two go tos in my adolescence. And my mother really scared me about being locked up in a nut house. So I suppressed all those abilities until later on, when I was an adult. And like I said, I was newly divorced, single mom with 2 kids, and I was in a career that was not fulfilling, that I didn't want to go forward in. And I just decided to pray and surrender. And the very first time I did that, I knew people had already started coming to me for advice on relationships mostly. And I could see energies around people, but I kept quiet because I didn't want to get locked up in a nut house. And it was, I think, in the year 2010, I met 2 spiritual healers who I sat with, and they opened up my third eye. And that part of that process is in my book. Um, and that's what shifted me into completely submerging myself into the spirit world.
Did you want to give those two people a shout out on here?
I don't,
Okay.
because they're very private and they
Okay.
don't. Yes.
Okay, no worries. And this leads to my next question. How much of an impact did your mom have on on your energy healing and clairvoyant as a clairvoyant healer? And I just wanted to get your thoughts on your mom and also your late father too.
Thank you so much. Actually, I was just earlier before our this session, I was in meditation thanking my mother for being so strong, because she left her country when she was very young, when she was 15 years old, to come to this country with nothing and no one.
Wow.
And there's, yeah, I would be way too chicken to do that even now as an adult, to leave everything that I know, to go to another country where she didn't even speak the language, and she built a huge business from that. Um, when I was younger and I was working in the banking industry and then became a stockbroker, my mother was so proud of me. She would always brag to all of her relatives how she made me feel really important. And many, many years later, before she died, she got to see me change careers and start working as a healer. And I'd never seen her so proud of me. She said she was so happy that I had finally devoted myself to my work as a spiritual healer. And she said she could now die in peace. And so those things still motivate me every day, that she was so proud of me before she died, and she demanded that I ask her for help every day, and I do. And she also demanded that I be more naughty on the comedy stage, and I am.
That's awesome, and that's what I love about this show is the storytelling part of it as well. Now, for my audience, can you just explain a little more about meditation? And if somebody out there watching us or listening to us is interested in meditation, how often should they do that?
I love that question. Um, I think you should meditate when you want to feel grounded. And there are days when you might not want to feel grounded, but days where you want to feel grounded and connected, meditation is the absolutely best thing, the best gift that you can give yourself. I like to guide what I call a healing meditation. And I do this for about 6 months of the year. I do it online. I'm going to start at the um, beginning of February 2025. I do 6 months every Tuesday night, um, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do it for free every Tuesday for 6 months. And I teach people, I take them into a guided meditation where you release all of the things that come into your mind, problems, worries, other people's. And then
Stress.
I stress, anxiety, jealousy, sadness, loneliness, all of it. And then we connect to our ancestors and our masters and our creator, God, and we channel that energy. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Some people have a really difficult time meditating, and I did when I first began. When I went from being a stockbroker to a healer, I could not sit still for more than a minute. I was like ants in my pants, real anxious. A minute seemed like an eternity. And when I now run into people who are similar like that, I give them a goal, a challenge. I tell them to set a timer on their phone for 1 minute and just sit still. Don't worry about what's on your mind or what you're thinking about. Just focus on not moving for 1 minute. And if you can do that for a whole week, the following week, do 2 minutes. And every week, graduate a minute. And the rule for meditation that I have for myself today is, if in the morning, if I don't have a lot to do, I'll meditate for 20 minutes. I'll sit down and I'll thank my mom for guiding me today and making today crystal clear, making today powerful, pleasurable, prosperous, passionate. I thank her for handing everything to me on a silver platter, and I surrender it all to her and I trust her. Sometimes I forget, or something will knock me out of my grounding. I may find myself angry or sad or reactive. And when I find myself in those positions, I know it's because I'm not connected to source. And I'll just take a step back and take a minute. If I'm in public or if I'm in a group setting, I'll try to find a bathroom. and I'll sit down on the toilet and I'll ground myself again, meditate. If I don't have time to meditate, and if I'm in, let's say, in a public setting, I'll go inside my mind and I'll say, thank you, Mom, for grounding me, or thank you, Jesus, for channeling your energy through me, and for everyone presented on my path. My go to when I feel reactive is I say, I am Holy Spirit. And I allow myself to sit with that and absorb that so that I don't lose myself in chaos or anger or sadness.
Wanted to say this too, Gloria. Our attention spans nowadays as a society have, I think, over the decades with social media, have shrunk, and everybody wants everything done immediately. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and also how big of an impact can meditation have on your mental health going forward?
Thank you so much. Um, a lot of people want everything fast. And in my book, I give you everything that you need to be able to see with your third eye and communicate with your loved ones. And it's not a difficult read. The print is very large because
Okay,
I don't want anyone to have to put on readers
I
to
have to
read.
wear them now. I have my reading glasses on.
And I also put assignments and worksheets in here. And so
Really?
the read is
Wow.
simple. You could get through the book in one sitting, but the work will depend upon you. Is how um, tired of you are you of being sick and tired? How bad do you want it? I have the first assignment in here is a 40-day assignment. I've been teaching this for about 14 years, and I would say maybe in the last 14 years, out of about over 1,000 people, maybe 4 people have completed it in 40 days. The
How
average
satisfying! How
was that.
satisfying is how satisfying is that?
It's actually miraculous that it took me a long time. It took me, I think, 5 attempts, but the average, it takes people 6 months. I have one student, she's been working on it for 6 years. And so that all depends on each individual, is how ready are you, or how tired are you of being just sick and tired and you just want to do something different. The answers are here, I promise.
How much do
And
you
you
charge? How much do you charge for an autographed copy?
have they're only $29, and they're guaranteed money back. If you say, you know what, Gloria, your book is shitty, I didn't learn anything, I'll give you your money back. And Amazon will give you your money back too if you don't like the book.
And Amazon in Canada is Amazon.ca. So I'm going to assume it would be on the Canadian Amazon as well as the US one.
Yes, it is available in Canada.
Okay. Before we get into a video I wanted to show of you as a comedian, I just wanted to ask you this as well, Gloria. Can you tell us about being told that you had the light?
Oh my goodness. That happened a long time ago when I was a very young girl. I mentioned my brother died when I was 5 years old, and someone told my mother that my brother died because someone had put witchcraft on him. So since then, beginning at the age of 5, my parents would take us to Mexico every Sunday to get a spiritual cleanse from a old school healer. And she would take us into this room and do all these rituals. And whenever she was done with me, she would bring me back to my parents, and she would say, this one you don't have to worry about. This one's all light. And then through my youth, different spiritual healers would give me similar messages, even a priest. I went to Catholic school, and for ninth grade, I went to all girls Catholic school. And my parents got divorced that year, and my mother couldn't afford the tuition anymore. And the priest, he said, you're such a messenger. I want you in this school. He was going to waive my tuition for a Catholic school. Um, so I've been told that throughout my life, didn't really understand it, especially when I became a stockbroker, because I was so devoted to that career and so good at it that if you told me I was going to do anything else, I thought you were full of it. But life has its ways of shifting your journey, and I've been shifted. And I can tell you that, and I can't decide between my work as a healer or my work as a comic, which one I love more, because I wouldn't be able to decide. But all of my best days as a stockbroker combined don't even measure up to one good day as a healer or a comic.
Can you describe yourself as a healer? Like if there was a word to describe you as a healer, what would it be?
Transparent.
And also, I wanted to ask you this too. I should have put it for the stand up comedian question, but I'm gonna reword this question. Is the spiritual energy healer in as that and as a medium? Is it a very competitive market?
I don't believe so. I think just like we were talking about comedy, how for some audiences they'll think I'm the funniest thing that ever happened, and other audiences they'll think I'm the worst thing that ever walked into their stage. Same thing for healers. I think there's such a need, such a demand for healers to step forward into their power. And that's what I do in my work is I challenge people, start healing. I do a healing meditation, which is very powerful, and it's written in my book word for word, the same words I use. And I challenge other people, use these same words and start healing other people. And I tell all healers, when you do God's work, you make God's money. Don't worry about making money, worry about doing the work from your heart, right? Because there's so many people, there's not enough healers, there's a high demand, and especially now with all of the uncertainty that is looming amongst us for the whole world. It's
Yes.
so important. Yeah, it's so important that all of the healers step forward, come forward and step into your power. I teach an academy. It's an 8-week academy for spiritual healers that want to not just develop their skills as a healer, but I also teach marketing, paperwork, tax documents, how to keep files. It's an 8-week program, and the last 2 weeks are spent on business practice, code and ethics, and how to make sure you can report your taxes. And I take all of that from my work as a stockbroker when I used to teach there. And so I try to help as many healers as possible step into their path as healers and start making money. And there's so many healers that are on the social media platforms doing readings and teaching and healing, not just as healers, but as actors and musicians and composers. There's so many different walks of life that have gone through my program. I'm really I feel more fulfilled than I ever thought I would in life. It's a really good place to be.
For those people that are watching this live stream or on audio or WQEE, and they're interested in becoming a spiritual energy healer and a clairvoyant medium, what advice would you give to them?
I love that. I think there's a lot of people who are feeling it right now. They're feeling that they are extra sensitive around people. Maybe a lot of people come to them for advice or for help, or maybe sometimes they even hear voices or have premonitions. Back in the day before I really started seeking guidance in the spirit world, I could swear I would hear my father after he had passed. It's like, am I going crazy or am I hearing things? And that's happening right now just because we have that alignment of all the planets. on December 21st, 2012, which was a huge opening. Some people may remember that, some people may not, but it's a huge opening to the age of Aquarius where we are all awakening as a collective. And you know who you are. You feel like a leader, even though you may not be in the spiritual realm right now. As I had 25 years of stockbroker experience, all of that experience, I bring it into my healing practice. And that's what I want to let healers know. Just because you're allowing the healer in you to come out and start practicing doesn't mean you have to start in kindergarten or at day one. You can pull all of those resources from the career or experiences that you've had and integrate them to heal others. And trust and believe that when you make yourself available to heal others, they will come. Just like in that movie, Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. Build yourself and people will come to you. I don't really advertise that I do exorcisms, but people seek me out for exorcism all the time. They're like, hey, do you do exorcism? Yes, I do. I don't put it out there publicly because a lot of people have strong opinions about those things, and I don't want to deal with people's opinions. But also, I don't want to do 100 exorcisms a day. They're exhausting. So I know that because I've put myself out there, the people who need me will find me. And same goes for all the healers. We all affect a realm. We all have a spiritual effect on the people or where we move in our energy circles. We affect people. And so I would like to ask all of the people, whatever inclinations you have that may be perceptive, like sensory perception or voices you hear, or you're able to guide other people. Yes, you're a healer. We need you.
What's the best way of somebody contacting you? And just quickly, what are some stereotypes and myths of being a spiritual energy that aren't necessarily true that you hear from social media and being out in public?
I think one of the biggest things that I hear, and I think this is an old tale that comes from far back because I remember hearing it when I was young, is why do spiritual healers charge? If you were really a spiritual healer, why would you charge? Well, why does anybody charge for any work they do? Right? And I always remind healers in my workshops and in my academies, and when I'm coaching healers to run their own business, I remind them when you do God's work, you make God's money. And I do charge what some people consider a steep price for a one-on-one session, but I don't see it as that's something that I'm charging. I see it as that's an opportunity I'm giving for someone to invest in themselves. And all of my work is guaranteed. If you do a one-on-one session with me and you say, you know what, Gloria, it didn't work for me, give me my money back, I give it back to you. But I think that's the biggest misconception is that people have, and I even write jokes about it. Um, I wrote a joke that says I usually don't tell people I'm psychic because they will almost always ask for free advice. My advice: stop asking for free advice. And so that's the biggest thing. I think that's what also stops a lot of healers from coming forward. They don't know, like, should I charge? How do I charge? All I can tell you is when you don't charge for your work, people will not value it. And that's one of the reasons why I charge so much. I had a fee rate and I had sold the package. It was 4 sessions. And by the time we got to the third session, this one person that I knew personally as a friend flaked on her third session 2 times, 3 times. The fourth time she flaked, I said, that's it. I said, I will not book another session with you unless you pay double the amount. She showed up. She did her homework. And so that's why I say it's not something that I charge. It's a value that I allow people to give themselves. Not everybody is able to invest that much in themselves. And so sometimes people will ask me for a discount and I honor that. But I also wrote the book and it's only $30. And I also do workshops that I only charge $40 for a workshop, and I will begin those in June of 2025. Um, and those are the different ways that I teach.
And they can contact you by this email address I have down on the ticker too, and through your website.
Email, website, text, either one of those, or phone calls are my favorite. High priority to phone calls.
I miss phone calls. I'm old school. I know I text and we all do DMs and texting, but you can't get a sense of how somebody is from that, and you can get more of a sense from a phone call.
Absolutely.
Gloria, do you still have a little more time? I wanted to play a video of one of your comedy skits and just talk a little bit about your stand-up comedy career out in Los Angeles.
Let's do it.
Okay. And your YouTube channel, what's your YouTube channel again? So everybody can hit that subscribe and follow notification.
Goddess Force.
And I've already
Like the
subscribed.
Force be with you, but Goddess Force be with you.
Star Wars fan, I see. Okay, just give me 1 second. We'll play this clip from just a couple years ago. And Gloria, just let me know if you can hear the audio okay.
All right. I usually do this with my mouth. I don't want to show off. All right, give yourselves a hand. All right, who did not want to be made fun of up front here? Bobby promised somebody. All right. All right, I want to talk about apologizing. Apologizing is so hard, especially when you're right. A simple sorry is not going to cut it when you've been a cunt. That takes a whole new level of apology. You have to admit it. I'm sorry. I'm a cunt. Then you can take it to the next level. Can I make you a meal? Can I clean your car? Can I suck your dick? Maybe in the bathroom, ma'am. So I try to be a good person every day, just in case I die. I don't want my kids to have to say, Mom died the day she was a cunt. I just turned 55 and a half. In numerology, 555 means embrace change, follow a new path. So tonight I'm taking a different freeway home. So most people say I don't look my age. I am tired of being treated like I'm in my 30s. I know a lot of shit. I've been around in English and in Spanish. I want to talk about asking for help. Asking for help is hard, especially when you're the type of person that loves helping other people. You give and you give and you give until you end up in resentment. It's like, what the fuck? That comes from the spiritual agreement that you're not good enough. Let's shift that. Repeat with me. I am good enough.
I am good enough.
Good, now go ask for help. So our ancestors are always with you, just waiting for you to ask for help. My father died over 22 years ago and he's been riding shotgun in my car with me until my mother died. Now my dad rides in the trunk. So I go to the gynecologist and she told me I have a UFO, a UTI. That's an unidentified flying uterine infection. Then she asked me if I wanted pelvic exam. And I said, no, thank you. I'll pass. I didn't want her fingers inside of me. I'm strictly dickly. So a few days later, I'm in the emergency room. A few days later, I'm in the emergency room, and this hot doctor walks in, and he says, I think you need a pelvic exam. I said, okay. And he says, are you sure I can have a female doctor do it? And I said, oh, it's okay. Everybody's already been in there. Yeah, when you have a baby, your pussy's not private. And all the doctors are surprised I'm still bleeding. Yes, God hates me. Maybe it's all the Catholic school jokes. All right, so I had an injury, a roller skating injury about a year ago. I didn't walk for a year. The first 6 months, I was on serious drugs. Those were the best 6 months of my life. Yeah. The next 6 months, no drugs. I had to be present with myself. Those were the longest 6 months in my life. So recently my chiropractor encouraged me to get back on my skates. I did. I fell. Twice. Yeah, Dr. Caden, motherfucker. I just republished my book. Life Shift Session. It's on Amazon. I put an emergency section, so if you ever feel like kicking someone's ass, you open up the back of the book and you just cut. Dr. Caden, motherfucker. That's pretty. I love books. Anyone else? Yeah, I always keep a stack of books, especially in the kitchen, so I can reach all the cabinets. All right, now let's talk about abusive people. Yeah. After my divorce, I realized I married my mom. Yeah. And you know, even if you're related to abusive people, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate them. Detach with love. That means you can still love them, but from a distance. Yeah, some of those family members from a long distance. Right? You know. So I have another friend, he asked me if I'm addicted to pot. He's like, you're always high. I'm like, well, let's see, I've been using it religiously since my kids were 10 and 12. And since then, I've changed my career. I wrote 4 books, started a comedy career, and I have a list. Hold on. I've raised 2 humans, been on live television and radio, was in an award-winning Hollywood play, multinational award-winning radio dramas. I live by the beach. I backpacked through the Sierras. I founded a cannabis church and a cannabis line. Yes, I'm addicted. Yeah, cannabis is a gateway drug to making your dreams come true. Did you know cannabis is considered an entheogen? An entheogen is something that gets you closer to God. During the pandemic, I got close to God 5 times a day. I'm really close to God right now. So I recently decided to give up smoking because it hurts the throat, right? And I finally figured out the perfect morning routine. I wake up every morning and press 2 buttons, wake and bake. My coffee maker and my vaporizer. I am Goddess Gloria. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for letting me share this clip. Just thoughts on that performance from a couple years ago.
You're welcome. It made me laugh. I hadn't seen that. And It was fun. I'm a little embarrassed from some of the naughty words. But I did clean up a few of those jokes in other sets. But those are still some of my favorite jokes.
For my audience or audience watching this live stream and audio, how would you describe your style, comedy style?
Let's see. My comedy coach calls me the woo-woo comic. And so I don't mind. I think that I've seen people fall out of their chairs. I've made plenty of women pee their pants. And there are a few men who have sent me emails and have actually called me to let me know I made them pee their pants. So I have fun doing it. I'm writing new material now that I think is even funnier than what you just saw. And I'm just so, it's such an exciting and blessed part of my life. I can't believe I get to do it. Like sometimes I pinch myself. I don't believe I get to be so naughty on stage in public.
Do you remember the first time you performed stand-up comedy in front of a live audience?
Yes, it was at the at the Ice House in Pasadena in June of 2014. It was really, really scary, but it was a lot of fun, and I killed and got addicted.
Do you
And
have any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
by killing, when you kill an audience, that means they laughed really hard.
That's a good thing.
Hmm.
Do you have any rituals or superstitions before a live performance? And when you do a live performance, do you like to open, be the middle part, or do you like to kind of close the show out?
I like that. Let's see, my rituals. I think I start every day, even when I have a show, I start in meditation. I take really good care of myself. I do all of my self care rituals like my yoga, meditation. I eat really well. When I get to the show, I like to sit in the audience. I don't like to sit in the green room. I like to watch the performance. Um, what was the third question?
Just any rituals or superstitions? How long it takes you to engage a crowd or sense what a crowd's like?
Gotcha. Um, let's see. I think that I have an opening joke which really opens up everybody. I would say 95% of the audience is receptive, and right away. And I feel super blessed to have been guided in comedy by my comedy coach because I would say 95% of my jokes are really funny. They're hilarious. It's a lot of fun when I do shows trying to put together, which sets or, depending on how much time I get, subtracting jokes or adding jokes. I don't mind when I open or if I'm in the middle or if I'm the headliner. All of it gives me a lot of pleasure. I know some people don't like to be the opener. They consider that not like a like the headliner is like the star of the show. But I see the opener as an important part of the show because you get the crowd going, and so I like all. I just to be able to tell jokes. And um, I was walking through the supermarket the other day, minding my own business, and one of the employees walks by and he starts doing one of my jokes as he walks by. He says, "Taco about it, taco about it, taco about it," which is one of my jokes. And so a lot of my jokes, people like repeating them to me, and that gives me a lot of pleasure.
Who were some of your influences or mentors when first starting up in the comedy industry, both male and female? I know you've already mentioned Bobby Oliver.
Right. When I was growing up in Los Angeles, my parents were afraid that we would Americanize. So they didn't really allow television in English or any English programming in my house. But my earliest comic mentors are Lucille Ball. And then later on, as a teenager, I was exposed to Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor.
Legends.
Right. And what was that guy's name? I saw him in person, Andrew Dice Clay, which today is not really a popular comic, but back in the day he was. And so I didn't really ever think or see myself in a comedy field. So it wasn't something that I really paid much attention to.
What are some fun facts about Gloria Palma as a stand-up comedian that your fans' audience might not know about yet?
Oh, I'm one belt short of a black belt.
Really?
And yes, in Taekwondo, I'm undefeated. International Taekwondo ultra heavyweight champion. And that was back in 2009, I believe. I used to run marathons. Um, what else? I love to swim in the ocean on a regular basis. Um, Up until my injury, I was roller skating almost every day and teaching roller skating during the pandemic. Um, what else? I speak English, Spanish, and a lot of Tagalog. For some bizarre reason, I'm almost fluent in that's a Filipino language, and I know a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of Hebrew. I try to learn a little bit of a lot of languages. That's a lot of fun for me.
What do you love about Los Angeles, California the most, and what do you enjoy the most about the comedy industry?
The thing I love about Los Angeles the most is the water, the ocean. I'm so blessed and fortunate to live close to the ocean. And so that is my absolute favorite part. And the second question,
Uh, I should have
you
wrote this
forgot.
down. What I should have
Com-
wrote this down. I should have wrote that down. What you love about most about the Los Angeles, California area. Now I remember. What do you love most about the comedy industry and the biggest crowd that you performed in so far?
Oh my goodness. The thing I love the most about comedy is the connections and the friendships and the camaraderie against comics, with comics. It's like a huge family. It's super supportive and loving. Um, and the second question keeps falling out of my head.
Just what you loved about the comedy industry the most, and also about Los Angeles. And you've already answered that.
Oh, okay. There you go. The ocean and the people.
Absolutely. And finally, Gloria, can you tell us about some of your upcoming live performances and any plans in the future to perform outside the USA, like Canada?
Absolutely. Yes, I do have a show coming up on Saturday, November 16th, in Los Angeles. It will be 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but it's also available on Zoom. So you don't have to be there in person to watch it. After that, I'm leaving for a vacation to Mexico. I'm going to go see family I haven't seen in over 30 years. And then I'm going to come back and throw myself into a tour in preparation to do my 1 hour special next year.
Your show on the 16th, it's on Zoom. I'm definitely interested in watching that. So maybe you can give me some details, but I definitely would like to support your work and other comedians' work as well. And Mexico, never been there. What's your favorite thing about Mexico?
The people. The people are just so loving and welcoming and accommodating and supportive and friendly. Definitely the people. That's the one thing I miss most about my trips to Mexico.
And finally, where can our audience follow you on social media and your website?
I'm on Instagram as Sister Goddess Gloria. I'm on Facebook as Gloria Florinda Palma, and my website is goddessgloria.com.
And people can email you at gg@godnessgloria.com, correct?
Yeah. Or you know what? Let me give you a different address. I have
Okay.
issues with that. It's
Okay.
sgglorious at yahoo.com.
All right. And finally, Gloria, before we wrap this up, do you have a question for the host before we wrap this up?
How do you do this every day?
It's a passion of mine. I love it. I love connecting with guests. I've had guests on from 7 countries, and
Oh,
it's storytelling aspect, but also I learned something new from every guest that come on here. And I want to prove to people that age is just a number because I'm 52 years old and I didn't go to school for broadcasting journalism. So I'm trying to prove to people with your passion and hard work and desire, age is just a number, and education is not just in a classroom, it's a lifelong process. And for many years I was in another profession where I got paid well, but I was not happy. So this is something that is a passion of mine.
I love that. That's amazing. I love your energy. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, and you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future. And just give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video, the audio, and I'll break some up. I'll break some reels and clips up into 30 seconds if you'd like to share on your social media pages as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And again, I want to say thank you for coming on and wishing you a very happy birthday and continued success in your stand up comedy career as well. And look forward to purchasing your book as well.
Thank you so much. It's my 58th birthday. So, speaking of age and moving forward at any age, yes, you can.
You look like you're 20, you look like you're 28.
Oh, thank you.
Have a great rest of your birthday. Have a great weekend, and we'll definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much, Gloria. All right, guys, that wraps up season 9, episode 11, overall 451 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, sponsored now by Wellington Brewery. Started up in 1985 at 950 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, Ontario. WellingtonBrewery.ca, 519-823-2337. Try a Welly on, you'll enjoy it. And speaking of Wellington Brewery right now, their staff pick this week is the Imperial Stout beer. It's 8% alcohol, 40 IBU, which is a bitterness taste. And the Imperial Stout is a strong beer at 8%. It's also dark, rich, and complex. And again, check out Wellington Brewery at 950 Wellington Road here in Guelph, Ontario. And their website again is wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Nelly on, and thank you so much to Wellington Brewery for sponsoring this show. And I want to say thank you to my guest today, Gloria Palma, a stand-up comedian, a spiritual energy healer, and clairvoyant medium, for coming up on here today. And check out her website again, godnessgloria.com, and her book called Life Shift Session is available on Amazon, amazon.com in the States, and I'm going to assume it's on amazon.ca here as well, guys. I have a busy night ahead of me. The next Argo Bounce live audio show with Chris Palme and Nick Small, episode 18, is tonight, Friday, November 8th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Nick and I are going to break down the Argos' 58-38 win over Ottawa last weekend in the East semifinal at BMO Field in Toronto. And we're going to preview the East final between the Argos and the Alouettes for the 3rd straight year and the first time in Montreal since 2012. And we might even have a special guest on here tonight as well. Before we wrap up the show, guys, as always, I wanted to let you guys know, if you're looking to adopt, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, extension 0, or you can visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption there, you can check out their profiles at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And also, they're doing a monthly 50-50 raffle with the proceeds going to the animals at the Cambridge District Humane Society. Click on their website, click on events, and you can purchase a ticket there as well. And if you're looking to volunteer with the Cambridge District Humane Society, you can do it through their website as well. And by the way, guys, right now, I am selling 2025 Cambridge Humane Society calendars in behalf of the shelter. They're great calendars. They're only $10. If you're out of town, then it would be $10 plus shipping. I'm hoping to sell at least 15 calendars for the Cambridge District Humane Society. So if you're looking for a calendar, please DM me on my social media pages or at cpalme19@gmail.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by yours truly, Chris Palma, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports, and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. You can also check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. You can also follow me on TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok at Live with CDP. And I do have merchandise coming soon. The shirts will be $20 in any color and sizes from medium, large, extra large, double extra large, and even 3 extra large as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Podcast. The audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, TuneIn, Pandora, and now available on YouTube Music and Good Pods. So make sure you subscribe to all those audio platforms, including YouTube Music and Good Pods. Finally, you can email the show, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well. And guys, I am looking forward to another show on Tuesday, November 12th, coming up at 4 o'clock with my special guest, Arma Benoit. She is a stand-up comedian out of Los Angeles, California. So season 9, episode 12, overall 452, Tuesday, November 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Armia Benoit, stand-up comedian out of Los Angeles. And again, guys, I hope you guys can check out the Argo Bounce Live audio show, episode 18, tonight at 8:30 Eastern with Nick Small and myself and a special guest as we talk Argos Ottawa and Argos in Montreal preview for tomorrow night as well. And CFL Toronto Montreal tomorrow on Saturday, November 9th at 3 o'clock kickoff on TSN. And then the West final will be Saskatchewan and Winnipeg at 6:30. Both those games should be great, and TSN does a great job as well. And that's about it. I want to say thank you again to Gloria Palma, a stand-up comedian, a spiritual energy healer, and clairvoyant medium, and the author of her own book called Life Shift Session, for coming on here again. Thank you to everyone watching this live stream and audio platforms, and thank you to everyone listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, where my show is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, sponsored by barrycullen.com and wellingtonbrewery.ca. I hope everybody has a great night, great weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday, November 12th at 4 o'clock with Arma Benoit, a stand-up comedian. And I hope some of you guys can tune into the Argo Bounce Live audio show just in a couple hours from now at 8:30 as well. Thank you again, everybody, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Good night, everybody.